Damen und Herren, bitte entschuldigen Sie die Verzögerung, aber jetzt geht's los. Bitte begrüßen Sie mit mir die Stargäste der FedCon 18. Bitte begrüßen Sie mit mir Eric Gray, Nichols is coming a little bit later, as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FedCon. Welcome to FedCon's press conference.
Have a seat, guys.
So, meine Damen und Herren, jetzt beginnt die Ihre Fragestunde. Bitte geben Sie mir Handzeichen und ich bringe Ihnen das Mikrofon. Please give me a hand sign and I will bring you the microphone.
Good morning. Welcome to everyone, and I have a very silly question to Nana. As I sit right in front of you, what is your secret to look so damn good?
You're so sweet. Actually,
That's true.
These days I get sleep. It's amazing. It really works for me. Yeah, it really works for me. The Deep Space 9 days, we had 16-hour days, and I had an infant and a 4-year-old, and these days they're kind of taking care of themselves, and I get to sleep. It's a great thing. Thank you.
Next question, please.
Hello, I'm Harvest from RTI Television. Good to see you all. My first question goes to Michael Hogan and everyone is almost here. Yeah. So good to see you, and so good to see you both together. So, what kind of feeling is it being together on this tour to Germany? And are you still friends in private life, or will you have some great evenings here in Bonn?
Well, I
I hope all of the above. We're just getting over jet lag, actually. Yeah, we're over it now, so we're going to rock tonight, rock tomorrow night, and then they can dump us on a plane, and yeah. But yeah, we still get along very well. We're like old buddies now. Old being the operative word. So I better hand it over to Eddie before I start getting out of hand.
It's been an extraordinary experience. Over the last 5 years, Michael and I have grown to be very close friends, and it has continued into past BSG. So it's been an extraordinary experience, and I hope to work with them again. I hope that we can develop things that we both do together. Thank you for the question.
And will you join the party? Tomorrow night also?
Will we join the party? Oh, certainly. I'll be there. I'll be dancing. I'll be the one naked on the table.
Thank you.
That'd be a funny image.
Who wants to ask the next question?
So we are here because of science fiction. And so the question goes to all of you, what is science fiction to you?
I'll be first. Imagination unleashed. Thank you.
I totally agree with Eddie as usual.
I'll add, it's escape without guilt.
Escape without guilt?
What does that mean? That means for a few hours you can get away from whatever and go right back.
I'd say it's a paradigm for the human condition.
Yeah.
Come on, Marc, what's science fiction to you?
It's a place we haven't arrived at yet, and probably never will, because it just keeps going beyond who we are. You know, with all the high-tech gadgets today, I'm left way behind somewhere. I don't understand half of it, even 1/4 of it. So I think science fiction is what we look forward to.
I think that the best science fiction looks at ourselves through a mirror. You know, I remember when I used to watch the original Star Trek series on TV, I knew that actually I was watching a future parable of what was going on in our lives right now. So that's the way I think of sci-fi.
Is someone speaking? I can't see.
I want to know if these glasses are for drinking around a corner.
I think science fiction. Science is the bridge for me that leads us to theoretical, infinite possibilities where amazing drama can explore the human condition and hypothetical probabilities. It's about people. So often science fiction is maligned and looked at as, being about, technological things, not about people, but I think we've kind of redefined science fiction and we now look at it as this incredible opportunity to go, like Star Trek, where no man or woman has gone before, and to explore just incredible possibilities. And, it touches the human heart, it inspires us, and it opens the door to the future.
Since there's so many good answers, I guess, about what Richard just said, that science fiction, I think, in a way, helps us collectively dream a dream that mankind can aspire to and try to achieve, or to realize what a possible vision of the future might be, and whether or not we can live up to it. But I also think that what science fiction means to me personally, and probably means to a lot of us here, is that we have the most loyal fans that we've ever had as actors at other times in our careers. Because people that are interested in science fiction seem to not only be loyal to science fiction, but loyal to the actors who perform in it. So it's that through that kind of gracious interest in our careers that we get to come here and be at my very first press conference that actually has gummy bears.
I have nothing to add. I think that's all brilliantly said.
Anybody else?
We move on. Another question?
Thank you.
I have always really, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but I just wanted to, get in on the end and say for me it's always really been mostly about the robots and the ray guns, but that's about it.
I guess one more thing is just, for me, it's about fiction and non-fiction coming together, fantasy, imagination, and mankind.
Next question.
Good morning. My question is for Marc.
Which month? There are 3 marks here.
The handsome black man right there.
Oh.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Now, Marc, you are very familiar, intimately so, with Star Trek fandom. Star Trek fans come in many breeds. Now, what do you think that the movie that will premiere in about a week, what kind of breed of Star Trek fans do you think that movie can produce?
Interesting question. I happened to have had the pleasure of seeing the movie last Monday. And just like the re-imaging of classic Star Trek, classic Battlestar, sorry Richard, the new Battlestar Galactica actually brought out people who would not have normally seen the classic Battlestar Galactica as pretty much popcorn type fare. Sorry, Richard. So in terms of this new, you missed, throwing things at me. In terms of this new Star Trek, as part of fandom and as part of me, I've always considered that other side of the public that points at people like us and go, look at those geeks, nerds, and whatever, regardless of how much we have invented for them in today's technology world. I think this current movie will bring about so many more curious people as to, what this original Star Trek and all the other series meant so much for people like us. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what the numbers are going to be after it debuts in the week after. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Richard?
Can I add something to that? Where are you? There you are. When they first started selling the tickets for the new Star Trek film, it was about the same time they started selling tickets for the new Wolverine movie, the new X-Men movie, and the pundits in Hollywood were saying that Wolverine would outsell Star Trek by at least 2-1. Star Trek is outselling Wolverine on ticket sales. So it's not just original Star Trek films. It's a whole new audience that's coming in. And in spite of the studio telling J.J. Abrams over and over again, don't make this just for the fans, he did make a lot of the movie very specifically for Star Trek fans. But you don't have to be a Star Trek fan to enjoy it.
Thank you.
Next question.
This is a question for Marc Sheppard. Thanks for being here. You had the pleasure of working on several shows written by Joss Whedon.
It was entirely their pleasure, trust me.
Okay. Yeah, I could tell. Yeah, well, what does it mean for a character actor like you to have material from people like Joss Whedon and Ron Moore?
Well, it's paid the bills rather well for a while. It seems that sci-fi and fantasy stuff has always been very kind to me. They're two of the smartest people I know. I think Ron is truly a very, very, very smart man, and I think Joss is very similar. I'd love to see Joss's ideas be able to realize the way that Ron's ideas realized in Battlestar. It would be nice to see a series that Joss did go more than 13 episodes. But
it's been a great journey. They've been very good to me. Put it that way. Are you getting Dollhouse over here yet?
Via illegal downloads, of course. And it's a great show, and I loved seeing you as Tanaka on the show.
Yes.
Are you optimistic for a second season, and will you be on it?
I'm always optimistic for a second season, as one would always hope to be continuing to work. But I have no idea. It's the strangest time in television right now. That things network series are not going beyond 12 or 13 episodes, and I guess they sort of went, well, maybe we should just write 12 and 13 episode seasons. So we'll see how that evolves. And I'm always happy that sci-fi makes it to TV. It's always very precarious when it makes it to network TV. But I think cable has been fantastic to us for the last few years. I mean, shows like Battlestar. I don't know if they would ever have got made on network television. So I think it's been a fantastic show. Thanks for your question.
Thanks.
Hello and welcome to the actors of the FedCon XVIII. Nice to spend your worthful time.
Einen Moment bitte. Ich habe gerade erfahren, Nichelle Nichols ist jetzt eigentlich. Bitte um einen Applaus.
Welcome, Nichelle.
And I apologize profusely to my fellow actors. Thank you. I apologize profusely to my fellow actors. I'm usually almost on time. And I apologize to the press. I woke up at 8 o'clock call and I felt like sleep.
Okay, then I have to begin a new question. I have to change my questions. Now we have 3 generations of Star Trek Enterprise here. Great. And 2 generations of Battlestar Galactica. And my question is, what do you feel like Mr. John Billingsley and Robert Picardo, the doctors of the Star Trek Enterprise NX-01 and Enterprise D, that's right?
Voyager.
What am I saying? Colin? I have to go. Sorry. No, the 3 generations of Star Trek, what do you think and don't you feel when you see each other? And the same for Battlestar Galactica, Richard Hatch as Apollo and the new Captain Adama. What do you feel when you see one the other and generations between?
Bob owes me $20, so I always feel a little angry, frankly.
The first thing I think is it's amazing to me that in 50 years Chris Pine will be suing Paramount because they haven't paid him yet for his little dolls. That's the first thing I think. No, I am very excited to see Star Trek as the saga, reinterpreted for an entire new generation. I think it's time. I think the interest will be out there. I'm personally going to be gratified to see 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds, bugging their parents to go see the new Star Trek movie. That's going to be cool because when my kids were 12, 13, and 14, and I worked steadily on Star Trek, they had no interest in it at all. My daughters, who are now lovely teenagers, 17 and 20, can't wait to see the new Star Trek movie when I couldn't drag them to watch an episode. And they have favorite actors in it. Simon Pegg is a particular favorite of my older daughters. So it's going to be great to see that kind of confluence of things. Actors that already have, a lot of the actors have established careers elsewhere that are in the new movie. I hear that the resemblance to the originals, in some of the performances, especially the actor who plays Dr. McCoy, it's absolutely eerie how he evokes DeForest Kelley. So I'm very anxious to see it. not at all insulted that Paramount is making me pay for my ticket whatsoever. No problem with that at all. That because I'm here missing the one screening that Rod Roddenberry was kind enough to invite us to, I will go back and be happily support my former employer.
Thanks.
I forgot what the question was. I know, I'm sorry, Bob. That's the $20 talking again. I bet my wife $25 nobody would ask me a question, so now I'm not talking.
Let's see, what can I say that hasn't been said? It's actually a real joy always to see everybody. It's very familial. You know, you get a chance to have a what's going on there? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were momentarily distracted in a very interesting way. No, it's more than anything else. It's a chance to have another family. You know, which is a treat and a joy.
Well, for me, I think 30 years ago, obviously, we were on for 1 year, and it went off for many reasons that most people didn't understand, but I think, for me, I always felt that Battlestar had this incredible story, this incredible mythology, incredible backstory, but as you all know, sci-fi wasn't particularly accepted or embraced back then on network TV, and it was frustrating to be on a show that had so much potential, and yet they seemed to be so afraid of the subject matter. And we got constant memos, don't do this, don't do that, take the cigar out of Starbucks' mouth. You know, it was constant memos about what we shouldn't do. Don't be too sci-fi. Don't be too this or too that. And I thought, well, that kind of leaves us with nowhere to go. And I thought we started out with some very good shows in the beginning, but then it just got too many cooks in the kitchen. And I think we kind of lost our way and slowly came back a little bit towards the end of the season. But by that time, you know, we had lost so much of our audience. And so the frustration for me was just seeing, I love science fiction, I love great science fiction, love great stories. And I was frustrated that this story that I particularly fell in love with was going to disappear, you know, for all time and never come back. So for me, the great miracle, the great joy, and I must say the great horror, not horror, horror, was the thought that Battlestar was going to come back. And as we all know, when shows come back, how often do they come back and the heart is cut out? So often a show with, you know, that becomes iconic, that somehow develops this amazing fan base that really loves whatever this story is, that when it's going to be brought back, the studios tend to forget what it is that the fans love about the show. So I think there's great trepidation about the new Battlestar coming, but I can only say that once I saw it, and once I got over the, you know, the first, I think, look at this show and realizing how different it was, I think once they got into space and I began to realize, my God, this is an amazing show. This show is going where I wish we had gone 30 years ago, where I think some of the producers and writers wanted to go, but couldn't go. So for me, this was a revelation. It was a miracle. They brought together one of the best casts in TV, one of the best writing staffs, producers, and they did something that I think that's hardly ever been done before, which is to bring it back and really, really do it right. And with the technology and the ability to, you know, with the CGI, you can do all that stuff, but if you don't have the understanding of the story, and I think these writers really understood what the core story was, and they were able to bring it to life. And I got to see Battlestar come full circle, and instead of a lot of those little, I hate to say it, but people do make fun, you know, they tend to want to make fun of the original Battlestar and put it down and, you know, say popcorn movie, but, you know, we touched a lot of people back then, and that show entertained a lot of people. We had 65 million people watch it, and we, beg your pardon? And we didn't, thank you, thank you. And you know, the funny part is we didn't go down because of numbers, we went down because the budget was just too big, and they couldn't produce a theatrical style series on a weekly basis. But here we were 30 years later, and instead of my worst nightmare coming true, it was a miracle and a revelation that here was a show that was finally going to go into the core heart of Battlestar and bring the story to life. And I got the privilege of getting to, you know, work with some of the most amazing actors. And I can't tell you, any actor that's been on this Battlestar set, it is one of the most actor-friendly sets you will ever want to be on. Everybody works together to produce the best performance, the best show, and everybody is passionate and inspired to be there. I've been on shows where people don't want to be there. This is a show everybody is going to remember for the rest of their life. So it's a privilege for me. I'm so happy it came back, and I'm very, very privileged to have been part of it.
Thank you very much. One little question. We know that you have all been acting different films, movies, also Star Trek, Battlestar, and all the others. Have you been able to split your meaning, your acting every day, your life? Now I'm maybe Phlox, or John Billingsley, Robert Picardo, or the Holodoc Doctor. Have you been able to split? Oh, I'm going visiting my friend. Oh, I have to take the beaming operation. Oh, it doesn't work. I have to go with my car. Maybe like this. Or I have to go with my wiper. No chance, my car is slower. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bobby. You're asking if we're out of our minds. I really can't speak for John, but I know his wife is here, and she'll probably want to add. I don't think it's happened to me yet. But with the influence of people like you.
I have a leeching party in my room later on if you'd like to stop by. Do I have one of these stats with you? Yes, I brought that in my suit.
Let's get back from outer space to Earth. And let me ask you, what is it like to live in Obama America?
Hey, Jeffrey? Jeffrey?
There was a physicality.
Hey, Jeff, down here. You're welcome.
I don't have to say anything, I just did. I think it's fabulous. We have the greatest president we've ever had.
Next question.
Hello again. I'd like to ask Jordan and Colin, who are newer to the con circuit, what do they think about conventions in general?
First, I've loved, this is one of my favorite parts of actually being on the show, getting to meet all the people who watch sci-fi, and I mean, it's awesome. I watch sci-fi myself. I'm a big Ghost Hunters fan, so to come here is really cool to meet everyone. It's such a great environment. I don't know, I have fun.
Yeah, sort of more of the same. I mean, you spend 6 months or 9 months of the year doing something on a stage. You forget that it's on TV. It's sort of your day job. You go to work and you deal with the same people every day, and to actually interface with the people who watch it and who watch it as closely as you hope that people are watching it. For the details that you do, and some days you're like, why am I doing this? No one's gonna see that. So it's nice. It actually reaffirms everything, and it gives you a lot of energy in the 11th hour when you're really tired. You don't really want to do a good job. You can sort of remember, the people who are watching really closely, and you sort of do it for them in the end.
Are you ever surprised about the questions that you're being asked? Are you ever going like, why would you care about that? Or how did you even think about that? I have no idea.
No. I mean, because again, you spend like 6 to 9 months of the year doing it. So there's so much energy that goes into it. Hundreds and hundreds of people whose livelihood depends on it. It's nice when you get questions about props, and you can reference the prop master and the guys on set who do so much of the fantastic work that constantly gets overlooked by everyone else. It's nice to have a fan base that can sort of target the different departments and give credit where really credit is due. There are a lot of people doing fantastic work, so it's nice.
Thank you.
While there's a pause, Doc said it's a Canadian documentary
sent infamous Canadian cameras that we're going to sign the back up and send them back, and they're going to auction them off. So I thought I would document this convention. So if on the count of 3, you could all look at me and 1, 2, 3. You missed it. Thank you. It'll go for a lot of money.
I have a question to all of the actors. Are there any upcoming things you want to do, you will do, that we should know about?
I'm looking for work.
I'm directing, you know those movies, the sci-fi movies that they do, the creature feature things? Yeah, awesome. I'm doing a couple of those, so I guess that's what I have on the plate. Not yet, not yet.
Anybody? No? I was motivated because very recently, not recently, I think recently again, that other Richard Hatch guy, the guy from Survivor, the guy that's in jail for tax evasion, the guy that has stolen my name. You have no idea how many places I've gone, and the confusion is, if you go online, you'll see his pictures, my pictures, it's all thrown together. Nobody knows who's who. It looks like me after drugs, me before drugs. I always wanted to, I think we all teach what we learn the hard way. We share our stories, we share what we go through, and so many people I think don't understand what we actors go through. This is a very, very, very harrowing journey to be an artist. It's an acid test of your soul. You're up one moment, you're down the next. People love you, people hate you. You think, you know, the world has disappeared and nobody wants to hire you again. It's quite a journey, and I thought nobody's ever really, I haven't seen that journey really put out there. And I thought, well, this was an opportunity to not only reclaim my name, but also to show that journey that I've been on for 40 years, and the journey so many of my actor, writer, director, producer friends have gone through. So I'm doing a new reality show, which, by the way, Sky Channel just bought 13 episodes of, which is called Who the Frack is the Real Richard Hatch? A little hook there, but it is...
Working then? We all working? You got a job.
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding? It's going to show. I'm putting together, I have a production company. We're putting together numerous projects. I'm doing this new sci-fi movie called Marsland 2096. I've developed a new sci-fi fantasy series called Nichelle. I've developed a whole bunch of things, but I wanted to really show not only the actor's journey, but what you go through putting together something that you believe in, the drama it takes, the heartache it takes. And so this will be coming out sometime next year, and you'll probably be hearing more about it, but that's kind of what I'm working on right now. So, anybody else? No? Mark?
Hey, something I wanted to say actually about the question that was there before. It's something really strange about what we do on television. I was a musician a long time before I was an actor, and I did some theatre and directed, done some fun stuff. The immediate response that you get from live performance is the most incredible rush ever. You know, if you're playing a concert of 70,000 people and they're screaming, you kind of get an idea how you're doing. If they're booing, you definitely get an idea how they're doing. But if you're doing theatre, there's this incredible connection between yourself and the audience. And I think when we do television, which I've done an awful lot of television, it seems, the reaction, we only get the reaction from the people around us. We only get the reaction from our sort of immediate families. And it's quite fleeting. I mean, it's wonderful on the set, that feeling on the set of completing something and doing scenes that you know or you feel that are really good. It's a wonderful feeling. But then when you come to a convention and you meet the fans, and the fans have actually watched the show, and you start to have discourse or conversation about the reaction to the shows that we've done, it's this incredible reinvention of the bond between us. It's this amazing and glorious feeling that you get of actually sharing what it is that we do. And I think it's just such an honor and a privilege that I actually get to be a fan and come and be a fan with the fans. It's just like the most amazing thing. I got a show that I'm doing on TNT, which will probably come out here eventually. Everything does eventually. It's called Leverage with Timothy Hutton, which is just like the most fun thing. Have you seen it? Thank God for downloads. Where would we be without digital downloads? It's, you know, I'm just happy to be here, and it's wonderful to see so many fans in one place. Just remember that the sci-fi that we do is written by people like us. That's why it's so good. You know, that's the point. The geeks have inherited the earth.
I've heard sci-fi is doing a version of Alice in Wonderland, so anyone knows anything about it, if you could just let me know. Thank you.
Well, Alice in Wonderland is already sci-fi. The original sci-fi. It's a pleasure to be back at FedCon, and I can't believe it's 18.
Yep.
Some of the things that I've been doing and about to do are rather interesting. I did several pictures in the last 2 years, Independence, and 2 of them have sold, and the other 2 are about to. So there were, and I was doing them all about within a very short period of time. But I was very interested in what you were saying about your name, Mr. Hack. It's a heck of a name to be stealing. But when the internet and websites came on, someone took my name, bought it, and has been running it, and then had the audacity to try to sell it back, sell my name to me for $7,500 after you couldn't get $10,000. So something very interesting is happening in that it's being called name hacking, you know, and it's being declared a crime. And so I'm finally going to get NichelleNichols.com back. Because I had to go to, I had Uhura.com for all these years, and you couldn't do anything about it. So I think that's really good and important that finally, you know, and they simply have to relinquish it, but he's taking his time. And I'm remounting, going to be remounting my one-woman show. I'm going to be touring with that, called Reflections, and I can't wait to, because I'm rewriting it, bringing it up to date. It's been a lot of fun.
I'd like to, before this goes on, Nichelle, just a few weeks ago, in the city of Los Angeles at the City Hall, Nichelle was honored as one of the Pioneering Women of the Year for the City of Los Angeles by Chief Bernard Parks, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you were surrounded by family and friends.
Councilman
and fellow
Bernard Parks.
Councilman, right.
Started out.
But tell them about that. That was a wonderful event.
It was an incredible event. I got the call very late in the game. I guess they've been trying to reach me through publicists that I had before, and is no longer my publicist. He finally got around to emailing me, and so I called him because I know Bernard, and I didn't know that he didn't have my personal number and everything, and so I started calling friends to just if they were not doing anything, celebrities and other people, and about 100 people showed up, which blew them away. And It was a magnificent event and morning for me, and I have a whereas plaque above this eye. Fortunately, they didn't read all the whereases, but it was wonderful, and it was before the entire council. And what happens is when you're being presented with anything, the council doesn't listen. They just continue on with their business and so forth. But when Bernard introduced me and all the people, he had them all come, all my visitors come behind me, they stopped and looked for a moment, you know, and then somebody said, I have this to take to you, Spirit. He's going, yes. And I says, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the lady, the blah, 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 was Nichelle, Nichols, and they stopped and applauded, oh, blah, 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 blah. And something about them went like that. And so I started talking, and usually people who go before the council are nervous before microphones, I suppose. And so they kind of go like, thank you very much, this means an awful lot. And so forth. And I said, I'm very happy to be here this morning. And I wrote my thank you the night before. I thought, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say, you know, and I started writing. And I gave an overview of what it meant and where we come from and why we're doing this. And suddenly nobody in the council, in the whole council, was talking. And they said it was the first time that they all shut up at once. And to just tell you the power of television and good television and the power of science fiction and Gene Roddenberry's beautiful dream. They all shut up. It wasn't just because I was speaking and was speaking loudly and was saying, brought forth the things that were meaningful. But when I finished, and they wanted to take me to another room to take pictures and everything. And half of the council members rushed up to me from both sides of the persuasions and came up and were giving the high sign, live long and prosper, and asking to take pictures with me. I thought that really, really said something, that when you can get an entire room full of politicians to shut up, and not only to shut up, but to come up and say what Star Trek had meant to them in their lives, and to tell me that they grew up with me. And I said, thank you so much, so did I. It was great.
I would like to make you all, every single one of you in the acting business, answer the question. So what I've come up with is, what's the most challenging part in acting nowadays?
Getting up in the morning.
I find it challenging to balance the business side of it and the artistic side of it. I find it increasingly there's less money, and increasingly there's less time and more rules and more people who have demands, and it's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and it's really hard to eke out the little areas where you can do your own little art and do scenes that you're proud of. That for me is the ongoing battle, I guess.
I would say, acting for me, the hardest challenge is that, no matter how you feel, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever the material calls for, whatever you have to get to in terms of the truth of that material, that scene, you really have to develop this discipline, this ability to get to it when the camera rolls, not 5 minutes after or 5 minutes before. And it doesn't matter what kind of a day you had or how good, how wonderful. You have to find a way to get there when it counts. So many actors can do wonderful work when the conditions are right. If you're in a class, a great teacher, there's great mentorship, but so often you're on a set with, the most adversarial conditions possible sometimes, and you really have to find your way to get to the core of that performance. And I also want to say that playing Tom Zarek for me, I've never played a character where what that character gets into and what happens to him, where you are affected as the human being. The character not only deals with morally conflicting situations, especially on Battlestar, where we are all put into these provocative, very challenging situations where we have to really look at ourselves, in the mirror and really make some very, very powerful, tough decisions. And I had to play some scenes, in the final 10 episodes that for me was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I shouldn't say I never realized, but that character and who I happen to care about, and I think everybody that has been on this show loves their character, and you get attached to that character, and what happens to your character affects you personally as a human being. And I've never had a character in my life that so affected me that I sat there having to really struggle to deal with some of the things that Tom Zarek had to do. And it not only helped me grow as an actor, but acting helped me grow as a human being. It expanded my perception, my way of looking at life, my way of looking at the entire playing field, and seeing it from a more expanded point of view. Battlestar has always been a show that makes you look through everybody else's eyes, and the person you think is the enemy is looking back at you, thinking you're the bad guy, and you realize that sometimes we're all trying to do the right thing, sometimes doing the wrong thing. That's one of the most challenging things for me. But anyway, that's how I think.
I've got a question for Nichols. You've been on the set of the Star Trek movie for one day, and there was a story that a cameo appearance was planned for you that eventually didn't go through. What kind of role was imagined for you in the movie? Could you tell us anything about it?
I'm sorry, I'm not knowing what you're saying. About?
You've been on the set of the new Star Trek movie for a day, and there was a story that J.J. Abrams offered you a small cameo appearance.
No, that's not so.
Then somebody was wrong on the internet.
They're very wrong. The new Star Trek movie that's coming out, I'm very, very excited about it, and I'm looking forward very much to seeing it. Is this the 30th? Oh, yesterday was the 30th, yes, right? The premiere was yesterday, and I was invited to it only to find out. It was supposed to be into May, and I would have been available for it, but this was booked a year ago, and so when they changed it, unfortunately, I couldn't go. But to answer your question, JJ did all of the original stars because this is a prequel. So the people who that are cast are playing Zoe Saldana is playing me before I went on the 5-year mission. The movie ends where we take off. So it's not a new cast. That's what I looked like then. And she's doing a beautiful job. J.J. Abrams did the entire cast the honor of inviting them, of calling them personally, and literally getting our blessings, telling us what he was doing, why he was doing it. Grew up on Star Trek, loved Star Trek, and he personally invited me to lunch, and then onto the set. and he didn't tell anyone on the set that I was coming. And so when I arrived, it's just a set to me, and I'm very excited about seeing what their set is going to look like. But you know, you're stepping over cables and tripping, and it's just the same thing, you know. And so I went in, and he had some of the cast members were shooting with the second team of directors, and they were where no one was speaking. They were taking some shots on like over people's heads and so forth. And so when I came in, and there's all the noise that you associate with the set, and all the because something's being shot. And then they said, "and action," and I walked over to look, and so some of the actors who were on were facing me, and they were supposed to say their lines so that you could get the reaction, the person whose back was to me. And suddenly, no lines were coming out of anyone. And the director, the shot was being taken from above him, comes out an expletive. What the hell are you doing? Did you forget? Okay, cut, what are we going to do? And they just, finally people turned around and they were just looking at me like I was a mirage. And that was just, and then they were just, oh, you know, and coming up and speaking to me. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I felt like one of the great queens of the silent movies. and so I graciously took my bow. And then I sat, JJ sat me down, and his director's chair, kind of just off to the side. And then he left and went like that. And then this lovely woman came in who had, I think this was after lunch, and she was doing so. And she was looking at them, and they were looking at her and smiling. And she says, "What are you smiling at?" She says, "Oh, look, can you get..." And she saw me, and she goes, "No way!" And so, from that moment, because that's the first time I met her, she came and sat beside me, and what she didn't know, she was called in and she had nothing to do that day. That was one of JJ's nice little jokes. And we sat there as they went on shooting and talked for the next 2 hours. And she says, "What I really want to do is pick your brain." And I talked to her about how I had created my character and why, and how Uhura got her name. I was reading a book, which was a treatise on Africa called Uhuru, and I happened to have it when I came in for the interview. And Gene Roddenberry asked me to lunch after that because I got the role. And he said, "I really liked that name, and I now know where Uhura is going to come from the United States of Africa." And he said, "But I love that name Uhuru, but it has such a harsh sound to it. It has something to do with your name, your character's name." And so I said, "Well, why don't we make an alliteration of it and soften it to Uhura?" And he says, "You've named yourself, that belongs to you." And so in our talks, he did say, "I wish that I could put you in this, so because I love your character and I love your work." And we actually talked about my playing Saldana's mother, you know, and grandmother. I said, "No, let her be a grandmother." He says, "You look too young to be a grandmother. You'll be a..." And I says, "This is what a grandmother looks like today." And so I think he would have that it wouldn't have been a small little cameo. Although I would have loved to. But I think that it's more important that the film stand on its own. And it would have been, and then everybody, you know, if I'd been in it, then somebody else, and other. I'm looking forward to see what I did and what we did up to the time that we went on the 5-year mission. So that, I think that little story got out, but it really has, it never really was. We talked about it and laughed about it, but I never took it seriously. And but he did say that he wanted to, that he was a big fan. He wanted to work with me again, and I'm holding. He wanted to work with me after this, and I'm holding him to it. So that's what that.
Eine letzte Frage haben wir. Last question.
Ja. Hier hinten.
Okay. Sorry.
Possible for Aaron Gray and Fernanda Visser. First of all, Aaron Gray, did you heard something about the character, the franchise of Buck Rogers for the future maybe? And Fernanda, we are on the FedCon in Germany this year. Again, you're maybe 4th with it, right? So it's my first one, so how can you tell us and all your colleagues something about how do you like it? Thank you.
Regarding Buck Rogers, yes, Buck Rogers will be made into some webisodes.
Yep.
There is talk right now of casting my daughter as Colonel Wilma Deering. And there's talk, as I said, talk, nothing's in writing just yet, bringing me in as another character that was in Buck Rogers. I won't tell you who just yet. No, not the robot. But yes, also there will be some new Buck Rogers comic books based on the movie that Gil and I did using our images. And there is talk about a feature film. Originally I had heard that Frank Miller was going to be doing it, but I'm not sure at this point. He's not sure either. So hopefully we will see a new Buck Rogers. Thank you for your question.
You said this was your first FedCon? Well, just really, it's the highest level that I've seen of this kind of thing. So, I mean, it's just a class act, the way everything is done, and it's always a joy to be here. I think you'll find it that way.
Before you close it,
Yes?
okay, just a quick announcement,
Okay.
because we have the press here.
Yes?
As a treat to the fans, J.J. Abrams is sending 28 minutes of the new movie to be shown here tomorrow. Oh, it's tomorrow. You're changing the date? They're changing the date, okay. But for obvious reasons, because the film's not out yet, there can't be any cameras, PDAs, telephones, any recording devices of any kind. And Paramount is sending men who will stand on the stage with night vision goggles to scan the room. And if anybody puts up a camera, they stop the video. That's it. So, yeah.
You said to change the date when?
No, I'm talking about what they're showing in this weekend. So they're changing it from tomorrow to today, apparently.
Oh, today.
Yeah.
We will be showing 28 minutes of Star Trek 11 before Star Trek. We'll be showing Battlestar Galactica, the movie. 28 minutes of the movie will be shown during opening ceremonies. So listen carefully. Listen very carefully. We will be shutting the doors. If you are not in the auditorium before the opening ceremony begins, you will not get in. Please, if you want to see this, and like Richard says, any photography equipment is on penalty of death. You are in Germany, we can hide your bodies very easily. So we will see you at opening ceremonies if you plan on coming without any photographic equipment, please. Thank you. Brigitte, Dankeschön.
Gut, es ist leider am Ende, es tut mir leid, ich würde am liebsten noch eine Stunde weitermachen, aber es geht nicht. Tut mir leid, wer nicht so viele Fragen haben, kann man das nicht entscheiden. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here.
Okay, folks, here comes the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wiedersehen.